in this panel because every time we talk about social and solidarity economy, I am increasingly convinced that at the individual and collective level, SSE is an educational transformation process. And it would not be possible to create a more inclusive, greener, more just, and equal a system such as SSE based systems if we don't focus on education for everyone. About a year ago, we made an open call to everyone who was in charge of monitoring the social economy. Here in our area, we're 2 hours ahead of Mexico City, and I would like firstly to thank all of the organizers for the participation, for the invitation to participate in GCEP 2021. And it is a great honor to me because indeed this is a passion. And thank you for the introduction. And it is indeed my passion because it is not possible to conceive social and solidarity economy if we don't think about the journeys that students go through from the early levels when they go to kindergarten all the way until university level. In Cordoba, we have been working for several years and there's a research project for which I'm going to present the title and the conclusion. However, the PowerPoint presentation is also presenting all of the content. So it's the social dimension of cooperative work. So it's in a social initiative from the province of Cordoba. And this research is related to the social balance. So it was composed of several different stages. On the first stage, we worked with 200 educational institutions. And in the first stage, we built a working plan, tried to answer several questions to balance society. So this is a collective work where the government of Cordoba participates with the representation of the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Industry, Commerce and Mining, University of Villa Maria, the Catholic University of Cordoba, 200 educational institutions in our province. And we were able to hear contributions from the educational community. So parents, students, teachers, assistant professors, and management from all of these institutions. So this research used a social balance as a device for action in our territory because we worked with all of the social economy organizations in our province. We are divided into 15 uh, areas, 15 locations, and we have a joint effort. The general goal of this research is to define social dimensions of school cooperatives and the different levels and modes that we have for education in Cordoba through our guide for social balance and analyzing advocacy for human sustainable development. This research allowed us to provide an identity to cooperatives, and unlike all other financial institutions, they have a social dimension. So we could systematically gather information, specific data about processes of application for social balances in educational institutions to describe the social dimension, how they associate, how they participate, how they engage in democracy. We talked about sponsorship as well because the social economy organizations work together because they sponsor school cooperatives and, well, social commitment. It was observed that there was a relationship between the cooperative principles and human sustainable development. And we were also able to strengthen bonds between universities and institutions that participated through the promotion of working groups and networks. On the other hand, for some time, there were also workshops taking place, where the goal was also to further the research that had begun. So ultimately, our main insights were that, well, cooperation between educational institutions is a very particular way to organize work that fosters social cohesion and changes the way in which people relate to each other. So cooperation is it acts as a mediator and allows the creation of bonds. In such a difficult time that we're going through, it's very important to reconnect, to have spaces where we can retrieve the social fabric that's so important. Regarding the different ways to create associations, well, first we have the democratic management, sponsorship, and collaboration of social economy companies. Also, we had multidisciplinary cooperation between all of the areas. This is also a very important conclusion. They are all different and they converge when we talk about application of methodologies, because everything was done based on this cooperation methodology. How can we learn from each other and how do we learn together? And it was also possible to restore social balance, which was also part of the evaluation of our process. How can we evaluate educational cooperatives through the implementation of social balance? It's so important to evaluate the social dimension. And with self-evaluation, we can create learning processes which will allow for the design and management of human actions. There are interests and demands that also must be met, but every school cooperative was able to identify its own challenges and build projects that foster critical thinking, creative thinking, creating relationships with other institutions, as well as promoting alternative ways of working. So I don't know if I'm doing well with time right now, but I will be open to answering any questions that might come up. Here in Cordoba, since 2018, we have been working with educational institutions and cooperatives in those institutions. Therefore, we are able to have a clear vision about the importance of all of this. So this all came from the discussions where the possibility to hear our students out was pointed out. It is very important, especially right now in this global situation where uncertainty has pervaded our daily life. So being able to say that we are going to strengthen our relationships due to this project. Well, our emotions have also gained importance because emotions act as seeds that can then grow grow from a feeling. So it's a feeling that we all have and that we must use in favor of our land and of our society. When we learn how to feel our land, we are going to take care of it. So this is the most important message that we would like to send you. Okay, thank you very much, Griselda, and thank you for the powerful introduction. It would seem like in an economics forum, it would not be relevant to talk about feelings, and this couldn't be further from the truth because in the GCEF 2021, we are focused on feeling our territories and having also feelings for people around us. So now I am very glad to introduce the panelists who are mostly committed women who have been working on education for social economy. And they will participate in this panel, which in my opinion is extremely relevant for the development of social economies. We will talk about learning, monitoring for SSE around the world. We have Maria Fustik, who is a professor for international affairs at Paris University. She comes from Montreal. And yesterday she said that she has been studying social economy for 7 years in Montreal. We also have on Zoom Tabitha Shikuku, who is a volunteer in the USA Development Center, the educational center for this institution. We also have Fernanda Luchiari de Lima, who is Director for Project Dissemination for Environmental Education in the Green and Environmental Department of Mayorship of São Paulo, Brazil. She comes here straight from the airport to give her presentation. So thank you for being here with us today. We also have Alfonso Cotera from Peru. He is the founder of the Network for SSE in Peru, RIPES. He is also on Zoom. From Chiapas, Mexico, we have Carla Melissa Barrera, who is coordinator for the SSE program at the Polytechnical University of Chiapas. Thank you for being here. She has also promoted SSE at the Polytechnical University of Chiapas, and we will close our panel with Sun Kyung Han, founder and executive director at CDOT, where they have more than 13 years of experience in fostering social innovation in Korea. So we are going to open this panel with the following activity. We are going to ask each of the panelists a question. They already had this question beforehand. And of course, they have asked themselves this question for a very long time. So the first question that we will ask today is related to what kind of incentives for the social economy should be expected. And the question is, what kind of learnings about social and solidarity economy must take place around the world? And how can we make it possible for people who are not specialized in SSE to feel motivated to know more about it and to be trained on it? So what have you seen and what has been studied in your own context? And if it's not happening, what would you do to motivate this, to foster this? We are going to begin with Maria Fustich from Montreal. Go ahead.
Can you hear me well? Okay. So, and then even outside, I really believe that 99% of people in solidarity economy, but they just there's people people whose homes have been impacted by climate change, environmental changes, and really creates an interest in an economy that works for people and the planet instead of profit. The problem is that it's really hard to imagine a different world. And that's where SSE and education for SSE really comes in. There's an academic, Eric Olin Wright, and he talks about the importance of erosion, the idea that we can create sort of these utopias within the system that exists and erode the wider system. So how do we generate that interest? And I think academics have a really important role in that because we can name social and solidarity economy where it is. I think we are able to create narratives. So in the panel that happened before this one, there was a lot of talk about neoliberalism. That's a term that has really been focused on in academia. Sorry, the echo. And academics have been able to weave together stories from all around the world about neoliberalism and how it has negatively impacted people's lives. I think that academics also have a role in weaving together the stories from all around the world of social and solidarity economy and how it can bring people together for an alternative system. Dr. Margie Mendel, from Concordia University, She once told me that, we have so many stories about social and solidarity economy, but we don't know how to weave them together. And I think really forums like GSEF and academics who can come together and really create these stories and these narratives really have the answer to that. And we should work more toward that. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias, María. Me encantó el momento que planteas que el 99%
Thank
de
you
la
very much, Maria. You said that 99% of the population have had contact with social and solidarity economy before.
y pasemos ahora con Tabitha Shikuku de USA.
So now we are going to go with Tabitha Shikuku from the USA with the same question. Is there an interest in specialized experts in the academia to study? What do we have to do for it to happen? Go ahead, Tabitha.
¿Se encuentra Tabitha conectada o pasamos a la que sigue?
Is Tabitha online or should we move on to the next one?
Regresando al Museo José Luis Cuevas,
So the next question for Fernanda Lucchiari. What do you think about this question? Welcome. Hello, everyone. As we say in Brazil, I would like to greet the entire organization, and I would like to thank you for the invitation. It's a very relevant topic, as everyone has mentioned before. If you allow me, I will start by the second question. I think that one of the ways to generate interest on SSE in a broader way, in a popular way, will be to connect to people's daily lives and their territories. It's important to be connected and there is a potential to connect the territory to the cultural reality of people. That is why the promotion of educational programs, as I presented in this meeting, is united to the principles and practices of the social economy. Because SSE is not only about economic activities, but it's also a way of living. And this academic program has been made by so many different experts, and it connected the south of the São Paulo area, where there are protection areas for springs, for example, municipal parks and conservation units, among other things, environmental services, and a lot of environmental richness. There is great potential for tourism, for community-based tourism, and the trend, for example, is for people to go downtown to travel for 3 hours and then 3 hours at night. So it's 6 hours of commuting to work. But now in these new territories, even if there are many conflicts and problems, there is great environmental relevance. There's production of water, and water, of course, sustains life. And that which sustains life can perhaps not be in the geographical center, but it is fundamental for survival. You can also change the understanding about what is important to everyone by having initiatives like this. And these courses, we have the experience from people who have worked with SSE, and they do it sometimes naturally without knowing about the definition of this concept. So I think that the environmental education will facilitate a better interpretation of the world and a greater relationship with the place where people live, which is essential for people to realize how important they are and how important the environment is, so they can create new business models and learn about new ways to live collectively. That is the importance of the popular initiatives. So in Brazil, we had many individual initiatives, but individual initiatives don't have a place here. Everyone work together, although they can also be autonomous. And we also have retrieval of agriculture, of flora, fauna, another mindset, and we relate to what makes sense to people where they live. The SSE has been key for the development of such initiatives. We must uphold social equality. And I'm sorry to be repetitive, but environmental education is indeed a means to strengthen articulation for social and solidarity economy because it helps raise environmental awareness, to understand environmental problems, and together with SSE, it is manifested in such a way that we can reduce inequality by thinking differently. We must work in a different way to intervene in this reality, and this is our purpose. So, in other words, by combining two questions, I believe the answer is that there is a great interest, especially as an alternative in a context where there is high unemployment, which has been also made worse by the pandemic. But this interest needs to be better channeled, and one way to do this is to provide environmental education. If you don't know what they are offering, or if you don't know where you are, or what the characteristics of the place are, what people do there, and how they do it, well, the lack of a cultural landscape, which is frequently mentioned by Mito Santos in Brazil, is key. So the SSE sometimes is not included because there is a lack of understanding about it, about the context and so on. And it also leads to further job loss and social exclusion. Okay, thank you very much, Fernanda. The answer is very clear. There is an interest, there is a need, and I liked what you said very much because education must be focused on the young people and the work that they will do. I think that is the seed that will grow into something bigger. And Fernanda's work is focused on the promotion of education about social economy among young people. And I would like to use something that you said. It's not only something that you should talk about, but it's a way of living. We cannot have dialogue about it if we don't live it. So thank you very much, Fernanda. And now I would like to ask the same question to Alfonso Cotera Fretel. So the question is there an interest? And if there is no interest, what should we do, Alfonso? Tell us what your opinion is about the situation in your country.
Adelante, Alfonso.
Go ahead, Alfonso.
Alfonso está congelado.
I think Alfonso's screen is frozen now. Okay, but maybe we can give the floor to Sung Kyung Han. So welcome. We would like to know your opinion about this question.
Yeah, hello.
Hola, estaba
I think
silenciado.
Alfonso can.
Sorry, I was muted, perhaps.
Bueno, saludos a los organizadores.
Well, first I would like to greet the organizers and all of the participants. I had begun speaking, but unfortunately my microphone was off and I didn't realize. So regarding this question, I believe that there is a lot of production regarding SSE when it comes to systems and research. And this is done outside of academic work, traditional academic work. We must understand that this is a bet on a different way to live. So it's a different way to develop economy. So then we can consider that the greater creation of knowledge can be obtained from the SSE stakeholders themselves. So I'm referring not only to producers themselves, and their experience in Latin America, there are many groups who manage diverse economic initiatives, but there are also promoters in charge of the development of capacity building with producers, social promoters, and so on. Therefore, there is a great interest and there is research about social and solidarity economy outside the formal academic environment. Fortunately, over the last 20 years, academia has started to explore this area with a greater interest, a greater focus. So in order to move forward in the face of situations like this, which have led to a permanent state of crisis in the system and has made the situation even worse now that the previous 2 years have been subject to a pandemic. So we could say, however, that there is great interest by some leaders and promoters of these social and solidarity initiatives who have a solidarity perspective. They are engaged and aware that there should be alternative solutions to the problems that arise in their territories. For that, studies, research are not only useful to provide elements of knowledge and reflection about their reality, but also to have access to knowledge about techniques and instruments that might help them better manage the initiatives that they are embarking on at a social level. In the last 20 years in Latin America, there has been a higher interest, greater interest in knowing about the social solidarity perspectives on behalf of authorities. This expectation is also increasing, and sometimes there have been regulations in some countries about SSE, as well as programs and institutions that promote SSE in several countries in Latin America. So based on this perspective, it is all about getting to know economic and social initiatives, how they contribute to the generation of to the creation of jobs, to generation of income, how to get them involved with programs for small and medium companies, for example, and how to measure the impact that these programs have. Definitely, Peru, as a country in Latin America and with the networks that we support, we have an observatory for SSE. And there we consider this to be an instrument with which academia, social organizations, promoter entities, and governments can join their efforts, share information, openly promote and implement indicators that measure the impact of social and solidarity economy in the lives of people. As I was saying, when it comes to creation of jobs, improving income, gender equality, and so on. So this is the intention of having an instrument for the co-creation of public policies and for the co-management of these policies with great participation from all sectors. Thank you very much. Thank you, Alfonso. This is precisely what we want to reflect upon. There is an interest, as you said. I believe that those of us who are interested in SSE are more and more outside of this forum. I believe that there are people out there who want a better, more inclusive, greener world. Maybe they don't have the competencies or the information that they need. So in Peru, they are spreading this information and disseminating the projects so that everything can be done. So here at the museum, we also have questions for Carla Melissa Barrera Montijo from the Polytechnical University of Chiapas. Go ahead, Carla.
Hola, muy buenos días a todos.
Hello. Well, good morning, everyone. I would like to answer this question based on the perspective that we have at work. So my answer is yes, there is interest in new research with a social and solidarity focus outside of specialized academics. Because right now there is a great need to bring together higher education and the communities. This type of bond can be created through young people who have innovative ideas, they are creative, and they are willing to share their knowledge with their countries. Also through the creation of economy systems that foster productive sectors, creating companies and having more entrepreneurship. And this will help us seek technological solutions based on the collective needs of the community. We firmly believe that implementing SSE in education classrooms, we can create new change agents for the economic and social spheres that are able to believe in themselves and to believe that they have the opportunity to build a transformational economy, which is fairer and more solidary, always looking for the benefit of the inhabitants in the community. How do we create this? Well, it can be achieved through partnerships between territories, and these can be partnerships among local governments, universities, and social organizations, such as the INAES, the National Institute for the Social Economy, which has been working in our country. And we proudly belong to a NODIS, as we call it here. It's a group in the state of Chiapas made up of universities such as the Polytechnical University, the Soconusco community, the community from Acacahuayagua and Chiapas, and a community in Tapachula, which is also in our state. So a group of women healers in Soconusco saw an area of opportunity for their practices. And they realized that they had a lot of great knowledge about being midwives and also having herbs and knowing how to deal with herbs and healing medicine. So they created their own business models and created several different um, programs. And our participation in the project was great because we saw how they could commit to the social economy model. First, they had to understand the community, to feel the community, being able to identify what the community needed, and then acting based on that. Now we have more than 30 women healers who are self-employed and work as midwives in the Soconusco area in Chiapas. And also from health institutions, there has been great support. In this region, if women wish to do so, they can have access to a midwife inside the healthcare facilities or inside a hospital. They can also have the possibility of bringing the midwife who gave them follow-up throughout the pregnancy, be there in the in the room. So we believe that we have the power to continue working like this. We can create partnerships that will contribute, and we can look for several different regions in our state with which we can ally and continue the work that we're doing. So we can look for and show our best practices, but instead of doing it in further regions, we can feel our own communities and we can try to search for the concerns and the needs of the community and being able to adapt knowledge transfer learned in universities and adapt it to the society. And that's how SSE can have a great role. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Carla. You just talked about a case of a success case and a real life case for when you really feel the territory. We have public policies with participation of many stakeholders, of talent, and the experience of professors. And most times, if classrooms are not being taken advantage of, we can also create programs to use the facilities. And so to end this first round of questions, we are going to give the floor to two women who are highly committed to the work in social innovation in South Korea. First, we have Song Kyung Han, and we also have Julie. So both of them are going to present their project together. Welcome and go ahead, please.
Thank you so much. And also hello, everyone. And it's really honored to give a talk and also present with the other great speakers and moderator and panels. Especially personally, I'm so honored to join this Mexico time sessions as well. So I'm Sang Kyung Han and CEO of the CDOT. Responding to the questions from the moderator, and I and also Julie, my colleague, share a little bit about our work together. So first, to respond to the question suggested, in Korea, since the social solidarity economy was introduced, definitely there are some the academics who initiate some research around the social economy and history, and also methodology and etc. And also how it can be applied in our real economy. But later on, and there is also very strong needs from the practitioners and activists or the entrepreneurs who is working in the field very closely. And they want to involve in some kind of the knowledge creation. So they have a very strong urge to be a researcher as well. So in Korea, we have some new concept, so called that the activist researcher. And this is a concept actually for the people identify themselves as activists, but they also at the same time want to be a researcher as a person who create the knowledge for their practice. The CDOT actually involved in project highlight the role of activist researcher in social innovation and also social economy. And we actually designed the programs called AYAF, which is Asia Young Activist Researcher Fellowship. So the young activist researcher looking for what kind of the future they want to create through the researching and also finding the right actions for that. So today we are now going to talk about another project called the Future Transition Canvas. This is also embracing the research and experiment for practitioners or to the people who is working in a very different sectors, including the government or civic sectors, or even the ordinary citizens who want to find out new solutions for the futures. So the Future Transition Canvas is the new learning approach for transition towards a sustainable futures. And especially under this very special circumstance, COVID-19 crisis, we are all living under this circumstance. And this kind of the crisis forces us to reflect ourselves as human being, and also the relationship we have with other people and also nature and technology. And also we reflect the system that we are living in. So based on the kind of reflection, we think that the people need to develop their capability, how they can bring the resilience for the better futures with the new emerging practices. This campus is aiming at developing the thriving society for everyone in this long-term emergency era. And to do that, and we actually offer three core capability. We say that the core emerging practices, the first one is a system thinking, and second is a future literacy, and third one is a collective storytelling. And through the system thinking, the people can diagnose the problem, and also using the social imagination capability, we can draw the future we want. And also we can create a new narrative and storytelling for the future we want with the community we belong to, or the team members. So these three emerging practices also bring some changes on the relationship and perspective and knowledge creation. For the relation recovery, actually people can understand the complex interdependence on the relationship between people and us. And also people can have a more the long-term perspective for future. And about the knowledge creation, I would like to emphasize this practice, collective storytelling, and because this knowledge was created not only by the experts, actually the storytelling was created by the people who participate in the process. And then this knowledge actually help the people find out the actions for the futures. So that's the main three different practices. So my colleague Julie explained a little bit about the how we actually run the program.
Muchas gracias. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you. El planteamiento que haces es sumamente interesante.
Everything that you told us is very interesting. An activist researcher. It seemed like these were two different roles in the past, but facing the new world order, a new economy, a new society, we must also present new challenges for ourselves. To close this first round of discussion, for the first question, we will be hearing from Tabitha Shikuku from the USA. Could you help us answer the first question, Tabitha? Is there an interest in social economy outside of the circle of social economy to continue promoting research in this area? And if there isn't, what do we need to do in order to promote it? Thank you, Tabitha.
Thank you so much. Can I have somebody to translate me in English, please? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you. We have simultaneous interpretation. It's ongoing. So everything you want to say in English will be translated. It's not a problem.
Hi, can you hear me? This is Tabitha. Can somebody translate for me, please?
Escuchamos y traducimos, no te preocupes.
Yes, we can hear you. It's being translated.
Hi, can you hear me?
Sí, vamos.
All right. So I don't understand Spanish, but I'll go ahead and speak
Tavi, you
English.
have to choose your channel at the bottom of the screen.
All right. So my education express difficulties in accessing finance, and to find the breakdown barriers through my work and my research, I've identified a systematic constraints facing women by inhabiting securing funds. And this include male-dominating funds network, financial markets, and also discriminate against women and less support for women entrepreneurs. So my program basically looks at having a synergy whereby we create we connect with investors who are able to provide unique access to referral partners and opportunity for women to attend education forums or programs that will help them to investigate like new innovative ways to promote their economic livelihood. And you see the organization example like ANDE, Mercy Corps, UN Women, Ashoka, like all those organizations, they do support social entrepreneurs to build infrastructures that are able to build evidence-based approach to promote access to capital and have these women have capital to build their businesses. So the Education Hub, basically, they're looking at for partners to invest in organizations to scale the hubs that identify and empower women-led enterprises, like Advancing Women Education Fund, The finances will promote gender equality by empowering female entrepreneurs and leaders, but also companies that empower women to have economic actors, consumers, and suppliers, basically by being able to distribute goods and services that are able to promote women empowerment funds, and also looking at grant opportunities that are able to enhance the sustainability of the product and be able to reach more female entrepreneurs, especially in hardship areas or hardship markets.
Te escuchamos perfecto, Tabitha.
Yes, we heard you perfectly well, Tabitha. Thank you very much for your participation. This was an important contribution because you're talking about a real case in Education Hub. I am convinced, and I think everyone involved in social and solidarity economy is convinced, that the best way to attract people to this discipline, to this area, is by sharing success stories. Financial inclusion, especially for women, has proven in many places in the world to reduce inequality. So when there are specific success stories, I think this really helps to attract interest, to attract investment, and eventually more people will get involved in social and solidarity economy. Thank you very much to all our panelists for answering the first question. Now we will move on to the second question, but you will only have 2 minutes to answer this question. So I want to ask you to be very brief. The guiding question that every single speaker and panelist is answering is, what are the actions and strategies that people, governments, groups, and societies, countries as a whole must take to make this world better and more inclusive? What specific actions do you believe must be promoted locally and in social and solidarity economy? First, I would like to give the floor to Maria Fustic to answer this second question.
Thank you very much. So beyond what I already talked about in the first question, the importance of naming social and solidarity economy when we see it and talk about those narratives, I want to also echo my fellow panelists that I think that SSC many ways is something that people do naturally. We collaborate, we live in communities, support each other, and that's something that I really saw in my research, where I studied social solidarity economy of food in Montreal, COVID pandemic, and I saw many natural influence groups were coming together to support each other with food and the pandemic, when so many people were losing their jobs and so on. So something that I don't want to say to answer this question is, I don't want to say that, oh, we just need to work together and we need to, cooperate, because I think that people really do that naturally. What we need to do is carve out more spaces in which those actions, which we already do, can be truly transformational. And how do we do that? It's really a difficult question. I think it means influencing public policy, both at local government levels and at different levels. I think it means just trying to make those policies easier for SSC, to be more conducive for SSC, for it to be able to thrive within this system where normally it's very difficult for it to be able to really, be transformational. I also think that it really means opposing injustice, exploitation, and so on in the world, more than just creating those alternatives. It has to come along with, with opposition as well to the things that we don't necessarily agree with, that don't align in our values. It means, for me, especially being in solidarity with groups who are often exploited, being in solidarity with Indigenous peoples who have been following SSC principles since forever. So for me, I think we can't create just our little utopias while the rest of the world is on fire. We have to create a better world and really work on expanding that world as much as we can. And I think something that's difficult in terms of, cooperating and trying to, build it all together is that there is a serious risk of co-optation. That's something that we've seen with so many different social movements around the world. And I think we need to be really careful on that. But I think that there is a way forward. And if we sort of build spaces and be careful about how we move forward together, that there really is a way that we can make these alternatives expand and create truly a better world. And I think, once again, GSEF is one of the great places to start doing that. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, María. Créeme que me
Thank you very
emociona.
much, Maria. I felt emotional listening to your answer. You're not only saying that we need to promote more social and solidarity economy actions because that is already being done every day, but it's about creating spaces to promote these actions. Thank you very much. Next, I want to turn it back to Tabitha Shikuku once again. Can you hear me, Tabitha?
Yes, I can.
Let me ask you something. The second question is just 2 minutes.
Hello?
Which must be the actions or strategies to the person, governments, groups, societies, countries, in order to make a better world? And which have to be the key actions in the local governments to improve this?
Sorry, repeat the question.
Could you, did you listen, Tabi?
Yes. We see.
Which must be the actions or strategies to create a better world for person, governments, groups, and societies? And the local governments, which are the key actions?
I think the government should employ
Please,
policies.
Tabi.
The government should employ policies that are able to promote women entrepreneurship program, and also looking at now emerging children or female that are going to school at the same time, look at ways how to support students to focus in educational programs that are more focused on STEM curriculum, and to come up with a systematic way ensuring that this financial literacy program are implemented not just from institutional points of view, but also government points, kind of like a wide project.
Muchas gracias, Tabi. El
Thank you very
planteamiento.
much, Tabi. Absolutely true. We cannot say that we're inclusive and trying to build a better world if public policies are not inclusive. That's a good point, a good place to start. We're back at the Jose Luis Cuevas Museum, and I would like to ask Fernanda Lucchiari, what do you think local governments need to do to promote that better world? I believe institutional stakeholders don't always act separately. In fact, they are stronger when we all act together. In the chorus that I mentioned, we saw that collaboration networks and solidarity cooperation can be used through exchange fairs. The Sao Paulo municipality created a project called Ligos Puntos, and that is an example of an instrument for social participation. However, Luis Enrique Abigan said that in Brazil, consumers must also participate and have an open dialogue with local producers in order to create networks. Luis talked about the importance of having local participation. And I think the ideas presented by Alfonso are wonderful about creating observatories and research programs, mobilization programs promoted for women and other groups. I would like to think about how to connect all of these things. How can we bring social and solidarity economy to education programs? And I think more specifically to environmental education. This is something that we are discussing in the Sao Paulo municipality. We can have cross-sector policies that can start local but then go global. Thank you very much, Fernanda. As you well say, if we want to have social and solidarity economy, we need to do it together because we work best when we work together. So yes, the value of solidarity is an important part of social and solidarity economy. Now, I would like to hear from Alfonso Cotera. What are the relevant actions that you think must be taken by everyone, and in particular local governments, to promote social and solidarity economy? Yes, we need to promote and implement strategies that defend life in general, but not only human life, but rather live in harmony and justice, conserving nature, respecting nature, taking care of it, preserving our cultures as well. All of that with a focus on good living. In more practical terms, this should be done through sustainable production that can guarantee healthy food all around the world. Agroecological production, family agriculture, all of these schemes can help to have better food. Fair trade and ethical consumption must also be promoted to prioritize territorial organization. We know fair trade, but more talking about export from the south to consumers in the north. But in the last 20 years, we have been promoting a Peruvian network of ethical consumption and fair trade. And we're talking about community trade, south-south trade, to bring producers directly to consumers. It's also important to promote ethical finance that can really give everyone access to financial resources, those who have been forgotten by the financial sector, in order to truly promote local economies. Public policies that must be co-created and co-managed by all stakeholders, as well as citizen monitoring systems that allow for more transparency, for exchanging experiences and learnings, finding new ways to do economy and measure impact. To do this, organization between stakeholders and organizations is essential. We can do that through networks, through platforms. GSEF is an example of such a platform. Thank you very much. Thank you, Alfonso. You talk about very concrete actions, but the most important one, in my opinion, is respecting life. As simple as that. It seems like our social and economic model respects no life. We need to become responsible consumers. We need to discuss ethical finances. The world is in trouble today because of the lack of ethical finance. And we talked about the importance of co-creating public policies. I believe that's also very important. Thank you very much, Alfonso. Next, I would like to turn it over to Carla Melissa Barrera. Same question, concrete actions to promote a better world through social and solidarity economy. Thank you. We believe that if we continue working on territorial partnerships, will be very important, but we must also work to consolidate links with universities and between universities and local communities. To do that, we need to find the right technology tools in our government institutions. When those tools are made available, we can help communities much better. An example of this is helping producers to know if their products are high quality, to learn about new agri-food businesses, to know about how to grow crops in an environmental friendly way that lead to higher quality products. We must also support entrepreneurs through analytical services, for instance, so that they can have a way to know if their packaging meets the regulations. We believe that having simple tools like this would lead to better services for society. And that way, little by little, we can start promoting real change at the grassroots level without forgetting about inclusion and gender equality. We feel proud to say that our women healers are not only proving that women of Chiapas, Mexican women, are productive, but they are true social change agents by proving that social and solidarity economy can change a whole community. We must also promote conceptualizing sustainability. All of our projects must protect our environment, must protect the health of all communities. These simple actions we think are the gears that can eventually set transformation in motion at a community level to promote social and solidarity economy that can be more democratic and beneficial to society as a whole. Thank you very much, Carla. Yes, we need to continue building, first of all, by establishing partnerships, by finding links between different stakeholders. But you also mentioned something else. Today, we have people in Bilbao, in Dakar, in Seoul, in Mexico. So, why not use technology to bring all communities together? That will lead to more inclusion, including gender inclusion, as you mentioned. So, we say this every day, social and solidarity economy can be found everywhere, and it is for everyone. To close interventions for this second question, I want to go back to Song Kyung and Julie. You have 2 minutes to tell us about concrete actions that could be taken to promote social and solidarity economy and make a better world. Thank you. Julie?
Thank you. To respond to the question, I think the multidisciplinary collaboration and the horizontal integration strategies might be required. So to gather essential knowledge on various fields in order to deal with the complex and wicked social problems. So in the process of drawing the future together and a common understanding and goal will be achieved, I think. In this process, collective action will occur. So I believe the education system, thinking of the sustainability, is required to change the mindset and the perspectives. This aspect is actually one of the core concepts of the Future Transition Campus, which Sang-kyung already presented. So I want to share how we tested our campus model in this regard. Actually, we've done this project with the Seoul Metropolitan Government. So we've done the pilot test with the theme of imagination of 2050 Seoul City, considering climate crisis. And we invited local activities, university students, and social innovators who have 5-7 years experience, and the ones who are working in the social business sector to create the collaboration. Specifically, we will try to collectively draw the imagination on the sustainable future related to food life, working life, and house life, and caring life, etc. And actually, during the course, we have tried to generate a lot of dialogues with the fellows, and we had mentor teams of specialists and activists, business founders, etc. And we also presented a team called Facilitating the Class and encouraging people to develop their ideas. Also, we used a lot of tools to analyze the system structure and generate the social imagination on the better and more inclusive society. And to manage the classes, we use both the online and offline classes as well. And discussion in a horizontal way is always there, and use the positive feedback loop and try to no one to being excluded when giving an opinion. And we delivered a lot of insights from the activists and experts in SSE area when trying to create the outcomes. And we used several pedagogical methodologies to create the new education paradigm. So after the program, we had a very positive feedback from the participants, saying they learned the importance of teamwork and new leadership, and saying it was a safe and comfortable place for networking with people in different fields, and we share the same purpose for the society. So we think the collaboration is the very important factor to spread out our SSC knowledge to the people at a local level, let's say.
Muchas gracias, Julie. Valoro más
Thank
la
you very
respuesta.
much, Julie. I really value your answer because that's exactly what you're doing. You're promoting collaboration. You're telling us that education is the key to promote social and solidarity economy based on collectivity. So thank you very much for your answer. To wrap up the panel, we will move on to final remarks, your conclusions. In 1 minute, give us your closing thoughts, something you want to leave us with, a simple message, final thoughts.
Thank you very much. I think with a, okay. I think I'll end with actually a bit of a personal reflection. I studied for 4 years in my undergraduate international development. I attended social movements. The more I learned, I became more and more angry at neoliberalism. I was leading a journal, grassroots journal, which talked about local movements. This whole time of 4 years that I was studying, I did not know, and I was studying in Montreal, a city that's known for social solidarity economy. I did not know this term, SSC. I moved to France. I was in a library, and I stumbled upon an entire bookshelf on world systems analysis, social and solidarity economy, and I got so excited that it's possible to build an alternative world. I took out like 20 books, I brought them home. I automatically was on the RIPES website, and I was getting so excited about all of this. And within a few hours, I decided that this was going to be my master's thesis topic. The original plan actually was that I was going to come to GCEF as part of my research. That couldn't happen because of COVID, but I'm so happy I can be here today. And I think it really shows that the more we write about this, the more that we talk about it, we can bring more and more people in. And the more people we have, talking about this and alternative and creating alternatives, the more transformational it can really become. So let's keep doing this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria. Of course it's possible. Of course it's possible, and we have to do it. Thank you very much. Please, Tavi, just 1 minute to give your final comments, please. Tabitha Shikuku, please, just 1 minute for your final comment. Thank you very much.
This is a very good platform that we meet like-minded people, and we talk about actionable solutions and engaging into different research topics. So what I want to say is that for me, my passion with women entrepreneurs, I think the opportunity to build the capacity of youth employment and women's entrepreneurship program will help to implement a demand-driven pathway into employment and entrepreneurship. Also, at the same time, it will help to support creating scalability and sustainability through our technology platform, and also having kind of like employable funding program that are able to bring good solutions to women entrepreneurship programs.
Thank you very much, Tavi. Appreciate your participation.
Can you hear
Regresamos al
me?
Museo José Luis Cuevas en la Ciudad de México. Fernanda Luchiari, una
Back to
última.
the Jose Luis Cuevas Museum in Mexico City. Fernanda Luciani, in 1 minute, what are your final thoughts to everyone who's following us in almost 100 countries?
Se pueda promover
Yes, I conclude by saying that we can promote the conditions so that social and solidarity economy can continue to find new initiatives. I believe that development in a way that protects life implies recognizing that altruism is not irrational. In fact, it's necessary. It should be part of new ethics. And I'm happy to continue the discussion with anyone who's interested. Thank you, Fernanda. If you want to talk, the people who are here in person, of course, feel free to approach Fernanda. Back to Peru, Alfonso, it was a pleasure to hear you. What are your final thoughts in 1 minute to all of us following you in Mexico City and other countries? We can't hear you, Alfonso. I think your microphone is off. Yes, sorry. I was saying that it was my pleasure to be able to spend this time with you, to share and some ideas. Thank you for that. My final thoughts are that the challenge is to take back the etymology of the world economy, ecos and nomos, so home management. And by home, we mean our planet. Our planet is at risk. We need to manage it better. And that is a task for everyone. So we must promote social and solidarity economy. We must promote gender equality, sustainability, strengthen cooperation between people, social organizations, companies, local authorities, in order to truly globalize solidarity and sustainability. That's what will make the planet better. Thank you very much. Thank you, Alfonso. And next, we will hear from Carla Melissa Barrera. What are your final thoughts in 1 minute? Thank you. Thank you very much. I'd like to say thank you to the organizers for the opportunity to be here. As some of my fellow panelists said, it's very helpful to listen to others, to know about what's being done in other countries. In conclusion, I'd like to say that the power of learning and education is bigger than we think. It is in classrooms that we can teach future social change agents, but also in communities, we can make this knowledge, this education palpable. So we need to have links between education institutions and communities, which is where everything happens. Thank you. Thank you, Carla. And back to Seoul, Korea, Sung-kyung and Julie for your final thoughts to close the panel.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I also very honored and pleased to join these sessions, and also thank you for moderator and other speakers, and also especially the organizers. And my final thought is under this difficult situation, especially the COVID-19 crisis, we are living in a very difficult time, and we already realize the social solidarity economy is playing a very important role to find out the direction of our society in terms of economy. And so we actually try to another experiment in other cities in Korea with our project, the Future Trends and Campus. I think this kind of keeping the experiment with a social solidarity economy for the future is very, very important. So that's my final remarks. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Sung-kyung. Julie.
Thank you very much, Sung-kyung. Julie, I don't know if there's anything that you would like to add.
Oh, Sung-kyung just told that all, so I'm just agree with her. So yeah, that's my message.
Muchas gracias a ambas.
Perfect. Thank you both. And I want to, before we go back to our friend Griselda Gallo. Griselda, you've been listening to many brilliant interventions. So what are your final thoughts before we move on to the Q&A? Thank you. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to all the organizers of this forum. This is a very special place of gathering, and I think my final thoughts are that education can prompt cultural transformation. In order to start thinking of everyone, the collective, it is not about me, it is about us. And the only way to promote that is by promoting a cultural change in our day-to-day in education institutions. We will soon have the cooperativism and educational mutualism Olympics in Cordoba, in the city where I live, and I'd like to invite everyone to participate, because in Argentina and Latin America, we will be hearing the voices of students, members of cooperatives. So I'd like to invite you to participate. Thank you very much, Griselda. And I think we end right where we started, by saying that social and solidarity economy is an education process. So trust me, it's been very difficult to be the moderator of this panel because I wanted to hear more from everyone. But I hope this is only a starting point and we can stay connected and continue exchanging ideas, because we all believe that this is the way towards a more inclusive world, a world that can put people at the center and eventually become a better place. Now, I'd like to give the opportunity to the audience. If there are any questions, out of respect for everyone here and all of our panelists, ask questions. I know your comments are interesting, but we have panelists here who are waiting for your questions. So please raise your hand and we'll bring a microphone to you. And if there are questions from social media, you can also bring those to me. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Ulises. I'm part of a community, indigenous community called Cacahuananche in the state of Guerrero here in Mexico. And my question is for the panelist from Chiapas who's working with women in indigenous communities. In my community, the Cacahuananche tree is endemic and it is used to make shampoo and soap. But because of difficulties marketing the products, it's become very difficult to keep that tradition, that pre-Hispanic knowledge of soap making and shampoo making is being lost in our community. And there are other products that can be made with Cacahuananche. So the reason why I'm here at this event is that I believe the social solidarity economy needs to be brought to my community. So my question to you is if you would be open to helping me, to helping my community, and if so, what can I do? Perhaps you could tell me how we could help empower women in my community. It's an indigenous community. We speak Nahuatl, and the language is also being lost. So I'm interested in bringing social and solidarity economy. There are many things, pre-Hispanic knowledge that we have that is being lost. So it's basically about that, getting support. So the question is for you, Carla, would you be willing to support them? And what would be the road to follow for that? First of all, congratulations for being here and for talking about your needs openly. I think It's a very beautiful thing what you want to promote ancestral knowledge and traditions. As I said, we work in nodes to promote social and solidarity economy with INAES. We created those nodes through a call. Of course, I'm willing to support your community. I'm open to that. I'm willing to hear more, and I can share the mechanisms that we have available, but I also would like to invite you to approach nodes of Guerrero. You can approach us, and there are concrete actions that are being taken there. You can also participate in a call that is about to be open for nodes 2021. So we'll be happy to help. Thank you very much. This is how collaborations are born, truly. So thank you both. And over here, there's another question. Please start by telling us your name. I'm Samara Mijangos. Good afternoon. In social and solidarity economy businesses, there are many challenges that can be faced. What do you think are the keys to overcome those challenges without losing the sense of community while promoting a new entrepreneurship? Okay, so what do you think is the main challenge faced by social and solidarity economy entrepreneurs? Anyone in the panel would like to answer this question?
Yes.
Thank you. My research, I really found, especially for cooperatives, they faced a lot of challenges during the pandemic because unlike nonprofits, for example, NGOs, who are sort of more supported by the government and such to help cooperatives work more, they are kind of in the private sphere. For example, they're doing the same things, such as cooperative restaurants or cooperative cafes, but they do things differently. They do things horizontally. But in that case, they're not getting necessarily as much support. So for me, I think that what needs to be done again is more public policy support for all sectors of the social and solidarity economy. That means not just nonprofits who maybe directly help. So I'll just give a quick example. In Montreal, during the pandemic, there was a lot of food insecurity. So the focus was on food banks. However, a lot of people who face food insecurity don't go to food banks because they're embarrassed for whatever reason. And instead, they often really rely on cooperatives, which support them in their food insecurity in different ways that are more empowering. But they didn't necessarily get as much spotlight and support during the pandemic. So for me, I really think that there needs to be more public policy support for all sectors of the social and solidarity economy, even if it's not clear exactly, they're giving something like a food bank, like giving food, but they're creating a supportive environment for people.
Pues muchas gracias a las dos también por preguntar.
Thank you both for your question and for your answer. And we have time for one last question that we're getting from our social media. And I feel like when you're eating something that you're really enjoying and you're getting to the last mouthfuls and you don't want it to finish, that's how I feel right now, because I want to continue with this panel, but unfortunately it's not possible. I feel very lucky to be in this hybrid model, to have so many people participating. And thanks to that, we have a question coming to us from the social media.
We commit to the young people in the process of social and solidarity economy. If we, as an adult, we don't let the spaces from the real importance for their participation on the activities, on the social activities, and economic on the enterprises.
Fernanda, ¿Cómo se pueden comprometer precisamente? ¿Cómo
Fernanda, how can we go from discourse to reality to practice, and specifically research centers and the academia? What is your answer? I believe that the academia has identified several ways to participate in social and solidarity economy. It's a very complex process, in fact. The effort is first identifying critically the challenges of a particular territory without forgetting about its potential. There's a need for positive change, and therefore more proposals must be heard. I believe that these challenges can be overcome through social participation and together with government efforts. Thank you very much, Fernanda. And with this, we bring our panel to an end. This is not really an end, of course, because we're in day 2 out of 5. And as I've said before, GCEF is held every 2 years, but it's the seed we plant to continue building networks, establishing partnerships, opening a dialogue, and delivering results that can help make social and solidarity economy visible. So this is not a goodbye. Follow us in gcef2021.org, and you can follow our streaming also through the INAES social media accounts. Please use our hashtag GCEF2021 to participate in social media. Thank you all for participating in this panel, both here in Mexico City and in other countries in the world. It has been a pleasure to be part of a panel with very talented women to talk about a topic that has always been very important to me, finding a more inclusive, better economy that
Hola
can
amigos
lead to a better
emprendedores
world.
de la red
We will take a
iberoamericana. Mi
final
nombre es
picture
Daniela
and then
Rendón, saludándolos de la Ciudad de México. Represento a GCS Protección y Beneficio Familiar, Sociedad Cooperativa de Consumo. En GCS COP, nuestro compromiso es con la seguridad social, el desarrollo profesional y económico de todos nuestros socios, a través de un modelo de publicidad y promoción digital formado por un equipo de emprendedores que buscamos maximizar la comercialización de nuestros productos y servicios. Adicionalmente, generamos ingresos fijos y crecientes con la incorporación de nuevos socios comerciales a la cooperativa. Contamos con una revista digital con emisión mensual que incluye un directorio comercial clasificado por las actividades económicas de los socios, así como artículos de interés, entrevistas, videos y promociones que los socios deseen publicar, logrando crear sinergia comercial dentro de la cooperativa. Hola amigos emprendedores de la red iberoamericana. Mi nombre es Daniela Rendón, saludándolos de la Ciudad de México. Represento a GCS Protección y Beneficio Familiar, Sociedad Cooperativa de Consumo. En GCS COP, nuestro compromiso es con la seguridad social, el desarrollo profesional y económico de todos nuestros socios, a través de un modelo de publicidad y promoción digital formado por un equipo de emprendedores que buscamos maximizar la comercialización de nuestros productos y servicios. Adicionalmente, generamos ingresos fijos y crecientes con la incorporación de nuevos socios comerciales a la cooperativa. Contamos con una revista digital con emisión mensual que incluye un directorio comercial clasificado por las actividades económicas de los socios, así como artículos de interés, entrevistas, videos y promociones que los socios deseen publicar, logrando crear sinergia comercial dentro de la cooperativa. Hola amigos emprendedores de la red iberoamericana. Mi nombre es Daniela Rendón, saludándolos de la Ciudad de México. Represento a GCS Protección y Beneficio Familiar, Sociedad Cooperativa de Consumo. En GCS COP, nuestro compromiso es con la seguridad social, el desarrollo profesional y económico de todos nuestros socios, a través de un modelo de publicidad y promoción digital formado por un equipo de emprendedores que buscamos maximizar la comercialización de nuestros productos y servicios. Adicionalmente, generamos ingresos fijos y crecientes con la incorporación de nuevos socios comerciales a la cooperativa. contamos con una revista digital con emisión mensual que incluye un directorio comercial clasificado por las actividades económicas de los socios, así como artículos de interés, entrevistas, videos y promociones que los socios deseen publicar.